Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2011 Apex 22 QBS. We are just going to start off with the back of the unit. If you notice, this is where we mount the spare tire. Also located is your hot water service port. You're just pulling that tab, giving it a twist and it'll pop out. Main thing you're going to want to note back here is you got your 1/8" drain bolt right down here near the bottom. And then of course your pressure relief valve. So that whenever you first get to your campsite, giving that guy a pull, there should be a shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank's full. Currently I have the tank drained, so that's why there's no water coming out of there. And then I'm gonna go over a reset procedure once I get inside. The button I'm gonna refer to is just right here. And that is it for this back here. Around the passenger side of the unit, you got your bumper cap, pulling that guy off. This is where we keep that sewer hose. Once fully extended, it is about 10 feet long. You just take a note of those 2 ears there. You can do the same 2 ears that hook up to your sewer outlet system, which I'll show you in a minute. We just keep this stored in the back bumper to keep as much smell out of the unit as possible. You got 2 low point drains on this side, so if you don't want water going stale or stagnant, because you're leaving the unit for a while, you crack these guys open and it will drain all the water inside the lines. There is a second set of low point drains on the other side, which I'll show you once we get there, and they work the same way. And of course, once you winterize, you're gonna wanna crack those guys open just to allow some of that fluid to drain out. Now you come to your sewer outlet system. You got your cap, which just twists off, and then your sewer hose would twist on, it locks into the same tabs. You got your black valve, or your gray valve and your black valve. You're always gonna wanna empty your black valve first. This is gonna be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. So you're gonna notice because it is the thicker tube. Then you got your gray tank, which is typically cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Just keeps things that little bit cleaner. You got your city water connection, so if you're at a site with water service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. Then you don't need to run your water pump, and it should pressurize all your lines. You got your 30 amp twist lock connection. You just take a note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on the bottom side. Once you line those two up, push it into place, 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug-in. Most campsites should have this and you can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home and you want to run it off household plug, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We do include that 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind, you can't run your air conditioner off that. It's just really to run your fridge and your lights. A little further ahead, you do got your storage compartment on this side here. That's where you're going to find the water hose, as well as that 15 amp park adapter I told you about. And then you do come to your jack tool here, which just goes onto here. You can run those feet down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving another 1/8 quarter turn just to snug it up. And that's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. You do have one in all 4 corners, making sure you use those whenever you're camping. Just help stabilize the unit that little bit. They aren't used for leveling, they are just used for stabilizing. Right around the front, you got your battery box, you got your 24 RV battery. Then right up front, there is going to be a cover over here, and most of the time you can get what you need done just by loosening off the tabs on the top, moving them out of the way. But for the purpose of the video, I did just remove it completely. Right in front of your regulator, you got that selector valve with it pointed this way. You're going to be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go empty, you can close it, flip it over to the other side, and start drawing off that tank. While this one's getting filled, like any standard barbecue, counterclockwise all the way, nice and slow, turns on the flow to the unit. Over on this side here, flipping open this compartment, you got your weight distribution, which this customer opted to go for you, as well as that awning tool, which I'll show you how to use in a minute. Up ahead a little bit, you got your fresh water connection, so if you don't have water at your site or you're out boondocking, put a garden hose in there, turn it on, fill that fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off. If you notice right down here near the floor, there's a second set of low point drains I told you about, which I've already explained how to use. And then you do got your fresh tank drain right down there. Pull that plug out, it will drain all the water inside the fresh tank. Whenever your furnace is running, this is going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Last, you got your fridge service port, not much you need to worry about there. Now we can go over the awning. It's pretty simple. You take this tool here, push this little rod, this little switch up. Sorry, you're gonna have to pull the switch down, and then to roll it up, you'd flick it up, which I'll show you in a minute. Now that that's flicked down, you just gotta unlock the arms from these little plastic collars, loosens them off. Now you can take your tool, put it inside this little hoop here, and you see that tool, and the arm starts making its way out. Unfortunately, due to space, we're not going to be able to go all the way out, but you'll know it's all the way out. You can see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hanging down. Now, once that's all done, at that point, make sure that your stabilizer arms are nice and loose. Move those up all the way to the top. And then at that point, they would lock into place, tighten it up, and then you can adjust your height with this arm here, just pulling it, and that would allow you to adjust your height. Of course, always making sure you slide all this stuff back down when you go to bring it in. Bringing it in is a little more different. Always making sure that you have a hold on the strap or the awning itself, because as soon as you flick that switch on the other side that we hold to bring it down, it is going to want to retract back up. So you push that switch up. Now you're going to see it's going to start retracting. And this is where this comes into handy. You put this back in place. Just allow that awning to contact the side of the trailer there. Lock your arms back into place. And you'll be all done. Whenever you have your awning out, just keeping an eye on wind speed, because once winds pick up, you're going to want to make sure you bring that in. That way you don't run the risk of bending your arms or anything. Stairs, pull out towards you. Then flip down, taking a step on inside. First thing you'll notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher. That's just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. On the wall, you got two light switches. One's going to turn on a porch light. The other one's going to turn on the main living space lights. You got your main GFI plug also located right here. You got test on the left, reset in the middle. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would look. Slide out operation button is just on the wall here. Always making sure you know what's on either side of the slide before you operate it. That way you don't run the risk of damaging anything. Hold that out button. Slide out's going to start making its way out. Once fully extended, the motors will just cut out. Just like so. You got your front bedroom space. Self-explanatory. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. Storage all around. This coach does flip out into a bed. You're just having to grab the foot of it. Of course, moving the cushions out of the way first. Then you can just grab the foot of that couch and flip it on down, and you'd have yourself another bed in case you were to have guests. Then to get it back in, you're just grabbing the foot and the top and kind of folding it back into place. And then at that point, you can just reinstall your arms on either side, which just have little channels they lock into. Now that you're in your kitchen area, we'll go over lighting the stove and everything. The stove does run off propane as well as the furnace. So whenever you're running that propane, always be mindful. You got your LP detector right near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, you're just getting to worrisome levels, so you're going to want to turn off the main supply of propane. Open up some windows and vents just to ventilate it out a little bit, get some fresh oxygen inside here. To get the stove to light, you do just have to have a little lighter. Turn it over to that light option, and hit it with the lighter, and it fires right on up. Now, I had the propane system running earlier, which is why it did fire up so quick. When you turn the propane system off, it allows air into the system. So sometimes it can take a few seconds to purge all the air out of the lines, so just be patient with that. And that being said, whenever you have had the propane system off and you go to turn it back on, I always recommend firing up your stove first thing. That just allows you to purge all the air out. So if you were to go to fire your fridge, your furnace, or your water heater on propane, it's not going to show a fault code because there's air in the line, so it couldn't light. To get the oven to light, it's just as simple, just turning it over to that pilot option, pushing and holding the knob in. Take your lighter, go right near that gas orifice, It fires right on up once it's able to hold its own, which you see sometimes again because you got to purge it. So, of course, my lighter did go dead, but, oh, there we go. You see it's lit now. It's going to hold its own. You turn it up to your desired temperature, and it does fire right on up. Also, you do have your main fuse and breaker panel right down here, so whenever a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it, and all your fuses will be on your right. Microwave, just like home, not much I'm going to show you there. And then you got your range hood. I always recommend running that range hood whenever you are running your stove, that way you're evacuating most of those propane fumes. Furnace control is just right here, sliding it to the right, because obviously it's hottest setting, and anywhere in between is a cooler setting. Whenever you turn the furnace on, there is only one fan speed. It's going to push all its air out of this here. Right down below, you got your monitor panel system, which has the corresponding levels, and then your water pump switch, turning that on does draw to your fresh tank. And then you got your water heater option, turning that on. This red light's going to come on. The water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this light's going to stay on, in which case you have to turn the switch off, go hit that reset button I've already showed you, and it'll try relighting itself again. And then you got your Dometic fridge and freezer. Temperature control is just this little plastic fin. The further you push it up the aluminum fin, the colder it's going to get. Controls for the fridge are right up top. Pushing the button in turns it on. With the button flush, it's an auto, so it's going to first search for shore power. Once shore power is taken away, it'll automatically switch over to gas. If you do want it to run solely on gas, you do just have to depress that button and it'll run solely on gas. This check light would ever come on, it's just letting you know that it failed to fire on gas. You just have to turn it off and try relighting it, because sometimes, like I said, it just could be a purging issue. Now you got your sound system, pretty much just like home, minus the fact of your different zones. You got speaker A and B. A is interior, B is exterior, or you can run both of them at the same time. Storage all around. Got your little entertainment center with your TV on its mount. This thing here, it is your analog antenna, so it could pick up analog signals, but there is very select few channels you'll be able to pick up with that nowadays because everything's gone digital. Opening up the bathroom door will bring you inside the bathroom. Light switch on its own center push button. Nope, light switch is on the right. Roof vent. Other than that, your basic shower and sink combo. You're going to notice right where your toilet paper holder is, there is 3 screws holding this little false panel in. Take those 3 screws out, this would pop right out of place, and in that case, that gives you access to your water pump and water heater for winterization. Other than that, that's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.